Yo, across almost every culture, people have claimed they've encountered beings of light. Some appeared during war, others in hospitals. Some gave warnings, some gave messages, some offered protection, and some, they simply stood there and then disappeared, bro. But were they really angels? Hallucinations, alien encounters, or is there something stranger hiding behind one of humanity's oldest beliefs? Hey, what's poppin', guys? My name's Maya, and this is the Homeboy's Guide to Angels. Before we start talking about glowing figures, massive wings, or people claiming they were saved by some mysterious stranger, we should probably answer one simple question. What even is an angel? Because if I ask 10 different people, hey, what's an angel? I'd probably get 10 different answers. Some people picture like a gorgeous white dude in like a white robe, blonde hair, big fluffy wings, halo floating above his head. Basically, somebody that looks like they're about to drop the hardest skincare routine you've ever seen. Others picture like little chubby babies, you know, the ones you see on Valentine's Day cards, firing love arrows at people, them ones. And then you got people who just straight up don't believe in angels at all. To them, they're just characters from old religious stories. But here's where things get a little interesting. Because the version of angels most of us grew up imagining, it isn't actually the version described in some of the oldest texts. In fact, the word angel, it's a job description. The word literally means messenger. That's it, a messenger. Somebody sent with a purpose. Somebody sent to deliver a message, okay? Sometimes it's good news. Sometimes it's to give a warning. Sometimes it's to protect somebody. And sometimes it's to carry out judgment, which means angels weren't always these soft, gentle, floating beings that Hollywood loves showing us. Sometimes they were warriors, bro. Sometimes, they were just there to send a message. Sometimes they were there to protect. And judging by some of the descriptions we're about to get into, some of these dudes were absolutely terrifying to look at. Here's the thing, whether you believe angels are real or whether you think they're simply stories created by ancient civilizations trying to explain the unexplainable, one thing is impossible to ignore. For thousands of years, people from completely different cultures living thousands of miles apart have all described encounters with mysterious beings from the heavens. Now, is that because they were all dealing with the same thing? Or is there another explanation? Let's get into it, baby. Let's do it. Now, if you're anything like me, man, you probably grew up thinking angels started with Christianity, like they're primarily a Christian thing. I mean, that's where most of us first hear about them, right? Church, Christmas, the Bible. But here's the crazy thing, though. The idea of heavenly beings, messengers from above, powerful spiritual protectors, is actually much older than Christianity itself. In order to fully understand angels, we gotta take it back. Long before Christianity, ancient civilizations were already telling stories about beings that lived somewhere between heaven and earth. Thousands of years ago, the people of Mesopotamia, one of the oldest civilizations on the planet, wrote about powerful supernatural beings who carried out the will of the gods. And there were levels to it, man. Like you had these messenger gods whose specific purpose was to serve the big dogs. Like homegirl right here, Inanna. She was the goddess of beauty, love, and war. And she had a right-hand messenger. This chick right here, Ninshuba. And Ninshuba was built different. She made sure that Inanna was straight. She made sure her business was handled. She was loyal and down to ride forever. And then you had like their versions of guardian angels. And visually it was like lions with human heads and wings. And these dudes were sent by the gods to protect specific people. Sometimes, the whole crib. So this angel would rock up and be like, hey man, I'm here to hold you down and your household. You know what I'm saying? And in some cases, they were sent to protect like an entire city. The third group, it's probably the most fascinating one to me, man. Listen, it's been like ages since I watched that Ancient Aliens TV show, but I'd be curious what ancient astronaut theorists would think about this one. basically, right, they believed that there was a group of wise demigods created by the gods to help bring knowledge and civilization to humanity. Yo, that's juicy, ain't it? That's juicy. Like demigods whose entire purpose was to like help humanity out, like, you know what I'm saying, by giving us cool stuff, by being like, hey, humans, try this, try mixing those two things together. Hey, humans, try building that. Hey, humans, try using this little gadget right here. It's gonna help you out. Like, come on, man, that's juicy. Yo, we see similar belief systems pop up all around the world. Like over in ancient Persia, you had stories about divine beings acting as protectors and guides. And yo, the crazy thing is, right, when you think of angels, when you think of them having wings, and you think of like angel hierarchy, like, you know, archangels, guardian angels, all of that came from Persian theology. So the Persians were doing this thing like before the Abrahamic religions. And yo, speaking of Abraham, Homeboy is directly linked to the first time a human being encounters an angel in the Bible. So boom, Abraham was married to Sarah, right? God promised him he was gonna have a bunch of kids, you know, a bunch of grandkids, just a crazy amount of descendants, right? But then 10 years later, no kids, nada. And him and Sarah, they're getting old, right? So they were like, hey, what's the play? We need to do something. Now, Sarah had a servant, right? A chick named Hagar. So the three of them were like, yo, we could get it popping with her, you know what I'm saying, with some surrogacy vibes. So that's what they did, right? But soon as she got knocked up, the vibes turned rancid, okay? Them two women couldn't stand each other, bro. It got to the point where Hagar was like, yo, I've had enough. And she dipped. She fled through the desert trying to get away. And that's when we have our first human angel encounter in the Bible. The angel of the Lord meets in the wilderness by spring, and he knows who she is. Like, he addresses her by name. He's like, yo, Hagar, where you coming from and where you going? And she's like, I'm running away from my mistress. Now, this next bit is a bit problematic if you think about it. Like, if you think about it in terms of like a modern outlook, it's a little bit problematic. Because I told you, mans, that Hagar was Sarah's servant, but the text actually refers to her as Sarah's slave. Yeah. So here's this pregnant woman, right? Heavily pregnant, being treated so badly by her mistress that she's willing to journey through the desert. She's willing to risk everything just to get away from the mistreatment. And an angel appears in front of her, right? This angel appears, and the angel doesn't go, hey, Hagar, what's up, man? Keep your head up. Hey, Hagar, listen, man, come through, give me a hug. Nah, the angel says to her, go back to your mistress and submit to her. Wow! Yo, listen, this is actually a very important thing about angels, okay? Angels are not for everybody, bro, okay? They're not about peace on earth, bro. They are on a mission. They are on a strict mission. Like, if an angel appears on the battlefield with a sword, it's brilliant news for the peeps the angel has been sent to protect. But for the other guys, it's peak for them. It's their worst nightmare, right? So in this case, the angel's mission was about Abraham, okay? It was about the lineage. It was about the son they were gonna have, Ishmael. Now, it's not about Hagar, okay? She's just like a pawn. She's just like a side character in this whole thing. But yo, before we cancel the angel, I think it's important to note that he low-key does make up to it. He does make up for it. He does. Because once Abraham and Sarah have their own kid, okay, they send Hagar and Ishmael away. They're like, hey, dip, we have our own kid now. You know what I'm saying? Get away, leave. And again, homegirl finds herself in the desert, and this time she's struggling, fighting for her life. She is in the trenches. It is real. She's on death's door. And yo, again, the angel rocks up, and he goes, fear not, for God has heard the voice of the boy where he is. Up, lift up the boy, and hold him fast with your hand, for I will make him into a great nation. I will make him into a great nation. And Ishmael and his moms, they lived in the wilderness. He became a beast, surviving, taming the land. He got himself an Egyptian baddie. He had 12 sons, and they were considered royalty. And when Abraham did eventually die, Ishmael was there to help bury him, pay his respects. After that, though, we do get angels popping up throughout the Bible, face to face, in dreams, helping guide the prophets, helping steer them in the right direction. Now, if you're anything like me, man, then you're a visual learner. And you're like, hey, what do these angels look like? That's what I want to know. Show me the angels. Okay. Now, in the Bible, we do get a few different descriptions. We do. Like the angel who rocked up to Homeboy in the desert, we can assume he probably looked more or less like an ordinary brat, okay? Because the conversation is super chill. Not once does he tell her to stop freaking out, okay? Because there's different instances in the Bible where the angel's like, hey, chill, relax. I'm one of the good guys. But in that instance, it was chill, right? Not once does he tell her to stop, just relax. And yeah, even when Abraham and angels rock up to his crib, they looked regular, they just looked like regular breads. So much so that when Sarah, right, was watching and, she overheard him tell him about all the kids he was going to have, she thought, these dudes are just chatting rubbish. And she wouldn't think that if the angels looked like intense and supernatural. She'd be like, hey, listen, if those glowing, creepy looking creatures are saying that, I'm gonna have kids, then I'm gonna have kids. But nah, it was just like normal looking dudes, right? Which brings me to my point. It's actually a question, okay? I want to hear from you guys in the comments, okay? If God, the universe, or whatever you want to call it, if they wanted to send a message to you, something really important, something that the whole fate of humanity depended on, something that would change the trajectory of your life, like they wanted to send this message to you, but it does involve you doing something that on the surface just looks completely ridiculous. Like, walk into the park or whatever, stand in a specific spot, wave your arms up and down, like something just weird, okay? And they had to get this message across to you, so you do it on that specific day. How would you want your angel to look like, okay? Think about it, because if your angel looks too scary, right? It might freak you out. It might make you go, hey, I ain't doing nothing, okay? I'm having a mental breakdown, right? If they looked a bit too, chill, it might be you might think, hey, that's just somebody high, or that's just somebody crazy. So what would your angel have to look like for you to take what they're saying seriously and be like, hey, that's definitely an angel? Let me know in the comments, okay? We also had them angels that rocked up in Sodom and Gomorrah, right, at Lot's crib. Again, they just looked like regular dudes. We know that because the locals were like, hey, bring them dudes out. We want to party. You know what I'm saying? They weren't freaking out. They were like, hey, bring those good looking dudes out. We want to get this party popping. If they'd looked all scary, like creepy angels, no way the locals would have been saying that. The locals would have been like, hey, did you see those weird monstrosities that just rocked up in Lot's crib? So clearly they're able to blend in, you know what I'm saying? But sometimes the angels are creepy looking, okay? Like in the book of Daniel, an angel is described as having a radiant, semi-transparent body, a face like lightning, eyes like flaming torches, and a voice like a roaring crowd, okay? And then we had dudes like John, Ezekiel, Isaiah, who had shown visions of different kinds of angel on some hierarchy thing, right? Like we got cherubim, and these dudes, they have 4 faces: a human face, a lion face, an ox, and an eagle face. And they got 4 wings. Their whole thing is they protect sacred spaces. The first time we see them mentioned is actually at the very beginning in the Garden of Eden. After Adam and Eve had chowed down that apple, God placed the cherubim with a flaming sword to guard the tree of life and stop Adam and Eve from gaining immortality. So they're all about protection. And, they also carry God's throne. They represent God's power and glory. Then you got the seraphim, and these are the ones that float around God's throne. They have 6 wings, 2 to cover their faces, 2 to cover their feet, and 2, just used for flying. And these guys, their whole thing is just to worship and praise God constantly. They create this energy, this vibe of worship and purity around the presence of God. And then you've got the weirdest looking breads of them all, right? The Ophanim, okay? They're basically like glowing, intersecting, fleshy wheels covered entirely with eyes, just eyes everywhere, just eyeballs, just, moving left, right, and center, pupils going like up and down and left and right, just creepy looking, right? So these three groups are like the celestial angel, okay? They're around God. Like, they're not the ones that pop down to earth to deliver messages and stuff. These guys are chilling in heaven around God, right? And you've got other levels, right? All the way down to like archangels. And below them, guardian angels, the dudes that, that rock with us. In Islam, angels are beings of light created by Allah. They got no free will. They mainly exist to worship God, and they also have like a hierarchy situation going on. Their version of guardian angels, this is interesting, their version of guardian angels are known as recording angels. And everybody gets one. You, me, we all get one. And they rock with you, recording your good and your bad deeds. Yeah. In Eastern religions, right, their version of angels, they don't really serve like a single creator. Like, they're not out here worshiping a God. Their whole thing is to protect, guide, and help us on our spiritual journeys. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, hey, Maya, man, it's super convenient, okay? It's super convenient that all these people in the Bible had encounters with angels and it was all magical and beautiful. And now we got nada. Now that we got phones, right? Now that we got cameras everywhere, it's a little convenient that we don't get these angel encounters, right? To which I say, fair point. fair point. But listen, right, while doing up my research for this joint, I came across loads of stories of people claiming to have had encounters with angels, okay? There's spaces on the internet dedicated to people just sharing their angel experiences. There's people literally making videos just talking about, hey, this angel came to me and this is what they said. Like, there's thousands of modern reports from people all over the world claiming they've encountered what they believe were angels. Before we go any further, I'm not saying every single one of these stories is true. Some of them could be misremembered. Some people, they're just doing it for clout. You can tell. You can tell when they're talking about it, like, right? Some of them could just be coincidence. Some, they could have perfectly ordinary, rational explanations. But some of them, they're pretty weird. They're pretty weird. Now, the common thing, right? One of the most common stories goes something like this. Somebody's in serious danger, okay? Maybe a car crashes, somebody gets lost, a child wanders off, a climber gets stranded, and then, right, out of nowhere, a complete stranger appears. They know exactly what to do. They help, they calm everybody down, they get it popping, they essentially save the day, and then they just disappear. Now, I know, okay, it doesn't automatically mean angel, right? That could just be a good Samaritan, you know what I'm saying? He just helps out for the love of the game. Maybe, right? They just, left before anyone noticed. Maybe memories change over time. Maybe the story gets bigger every time it's retold. But I feel like we're throwing in a lot of maybes to try and explain how that exact same pattern keeps popping up. Another place these stories show up, surprisingly often, is in hospitals, bro. Yo, there's so many of these angel encounter stories in hospitals, bro. Doctors, nurses, patients. There are countless stories of people claiming a mysterious visitor appeared at just the right moment. Sometimes an elderly patient saying, "That nice man in white came to see me." The nurses checked the visitor log. Nobody came in. Sometimes someone says they felt a comforting hand on their shoulder, only to turn around and nobody's there, bro. Again, does that prove angels exist? No, it doesn't. But it does make you wonder, right? Why do so many people describe such similar experiences? And then you've got people who've had near-death experiences. Now, personally, I've had two, bro. Yeah, two near-death experiences. The first one was at my grandma's crib. I was a kid. There was a fire. I inhaled like tons of like toxic fumes and I passed out. And I vaguely remember somebody carrying me out of the building and placing me down. And I was super religious at the time, so I was convinced it was an angel, okay? Because by the time help arrived, right, I was already passed out outside the crib and nobody was like, hey, I carried him out the house. I was the only dude in the crib. So it was like, yo. The second time I almost drowned. It was crazy, right? Now, near-death experiences are a whole documentary by themselves. I might have to make a video about that. But one thing keeps coming up again and again when you hear these stories. People describe like overwhelming peace. And I can confirm that I felt that. They talk about this brilliant light. Again, that was my experience. People talk about, a feeling that someone or something was guiding them. Again, I literally remember being carried out of the building. Okay. Others describe seeing dead relatives. That wasn't my experience, but a lot of people say, hey, I saw my auntie, I saw my uncle, I saw my grandparents. Others describe beings of light. But here's the part that I find fascinating, right? Whether you're reading stories from America, the UK, Africa, Asia, people often describe the same things: protection, guidance, comfort, a presence that seems to arrive exactly when it's needed most. I know exactly what some of y'all are thinking. Maya, man, them are just coincidences, okay? I can feel the eyes rolling as you watch this video. Hey, yo, maybe they are coincidences. I ain't gonna hold you. Maybe they are. But here's the thing. Coincidences don't suddenly stop being interesting just because we call them coincidences. Bars! Sometimes the right person really is just in the right place at exactly the right time. And sometimes people walk away from those moments convinced with every fiber of their being that someone or something was watching over them. Whether that was an angel, a stranger, a stroke of good luck, or simply the incredible randomness of life. I'll leave that up to you. The thing is, right, almost every angel story, whether it's from the Bible, the Quran, ancient Persia, or somebody posting on Reddit, they seem to happen at exactly the same kind of moment. Somebody's terrified, somebody's grieving, somebody feels completely lost, somebody thinks this might be the end, and then something changes. Now, maybe that's because if angels are real, those are exactly the moments they choose to show up. I know I would. Like if I was an angel and I was assigned to you, I had to take care of you and keep an eye on you, but the rules forbid me from jumping in, from making myself be seen. I just have to operate in a different plane of existence in the shadows. I feel like if I saw you about to end it all, I saw you at the brink of destruction, that's when I break the rules. That's when I pop up and be like, hey, what are you doing? That's when I jump in to try and help you out. You know what I'm saying? But that's just me. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what the consequences are, but I'd be like, hey, I don't care. I'm helping my boy out, okay? Human beings keep telling the same story, that somewhere out there, beyond everything we can see, there are beings that want good to win. Now, is that because they're actually there? Or is it because that's the story we desperately want to be true? I don't know. Maybe every single encounter out there, maybe every single angel encounter has a perfectly rational explanation. They do say magic is just science we don't understand yet. But maybe every now and then something reaches into our world for reasons we'll never fully understand. Hey, that was the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please give it a like. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. I'll be back with the next show. Until then, you take care of yourself, fam, because I love you.